How to care for Calathea lancifolia? Here's a guide on how to care for your Calathea lancifolia, also known as the rattlesnake plant. See more 59 species in genus Calath at monsteraholic.com. Light. Calathea lancifolia prefers bright, indirect light. Avoid direct sunlight, which can scorch the leaves. East or north-facing windows are ideal locations. If placed near a south-facing window, provide some afternoon shade. Watering. Keep the soil moist but not soggy. Water thoroughly when the top inch of soil feels dry to the touch. Avoid overwatering, which can lead to root rot. Use filtered or distilled water whenever possible, as Calatheas are sensitive to minerals in tap water that can damage the leaves. Humidity. Calathea lancifolia thrives in high humidity levels, around 50 to 60%. Here are some ways to increase humidity. Group your Calathea with other humidity-loving plants. Use a pebble tray filled with water placed under the pot. Avoid letting the pot sit directly in water. Use a humidifier to increase the overall humidity in the room. Soil. Plant your Calathea lancifolia in a well-draining potting mix specifically formulated for houseplants. You can also create your own mix using a combination of potting soil, perlite, and orchid bark for added drainage and aeration. Temperature. Maintain warm temperatures between 60 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 to 24 degrees Celsius. Avoid placing your Calathea near cold drafts or heating vents. Fertilizing. During the growing season, spring and summer, fertilize your Calathea lancifolia once a month with a diluted, balanced liquid fertilizer. Reduce or withhold fertilizer during the winter months when the plant goes dormant. Additional tips. Wipe the leaves occasionally with a damp cloth to remove dust and improve their light-absorbing ability. Misting the leaves can be helpful in increasing humidity, but be careful not to over-mist, as this can lead to fungal diseases. Repot your Calathea lancifolia every 1 to 2 years when it outgrows its current pot. Choose a pot with drainage holes that is slightly larger than the previous one. Calathea lancifolia is generally pest and disease resistant, but watch out for common houseplant pests like mealybugs and spider mites. You can treat them with insecticidal soap or neem oil. Is Calathea lancifolia toxic to cats? Fortunately, Calathea lancifolia is not toxic to cats, which is a huge relief for me as a pet owner. My cats are very curious and like to nibble on plants occasionally, so it's comforting to know that this beautiful plant won't harm them if they decide to investigate a bit too closely. How often to water Calathea lancifolia? When it comes to watering my Calathea lancifolia, I've found that keeping a consistent schedule works best. I water it about once a week, ensuring the soil stays moist but not soggy. During the winter months, I reduce the frequency slightly, as the plant's growth slows down and it doesn't need as much water. I always check the soil with my finger to make sure the top inch is dry before watering. How to propagate a Calathea lancifolia plant? Propagating Calathea lancifolia is something I tried once with moderate success. I did it through division, carefully separating a portion of the plant that had its own roots. I planted the new division in fresh soil and kept it in a humid environment. How to repot Calathea lancifolia? Repotting my Calathea lancifolia is something I do every year or so, typically in the spring when it starts showing signs of outgrowing its pot. I gently remove it from the current pot, shake off excess soil, and place it in a slightly larger pot with fresh, well-draining soil. I make sure to water it thoroughly after repotting to help it settle into its new home and recover from any stress. Is Calathea lancifolia toxic to dogs? Calathea lancifolia is not toxic to dogs either, which is fantastic since I have a dog who occasionally likes to sniff around my plants. It's reassuring to know that if he decides to get too close, I don't have to worry about any toxic reactions. This makes Calathea lancifolia a pet-friendly choice for my home. Where to buy Calathea lancifolia? When I wanted to buy my Calathea lancifolia, I checked out several local nurseries and garden centers. I also looked online and found some reputable plant shops that offer a good selection of healthy plants. Eventually, I bought mine from a nearby nursery where I could see the plant in person and ensure it was in good condition before bringing it home. Why does Calathea lancifolia fold? I've noticed that my Calathea lancifolia folds its leaves in the evening and reopens them in the morning, which is a natural behavior for this plant. This movement, called nyctinasty, is fascinating to observe and is a response to changes in light. It almost feels like the plant is going to sleep and waking up, which adds a unique dynamic to my plant collection. Calathea insignis versus Lancifolia. For a while, I couldn't decide between a Calathea insignis and Lancifolia. Both have those stunning, patterned leaves that seem to shimmer in the light. But after bringing them both home, I've noticed some key differences. The insignis feels a bit like a drama queen. Its leaves are thinner and more delicate, and they seem to droop dramatically at the slightest change in humidity. I swear I can practically hear them sigh when the mist machine runs out. The Lancifolia, on the other hand, is a trooper. Its leaves are thicker and sturdier, bouncing back much quicker from dryness. It's definitely more forgiving of my forgetful watering habits.